and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Sandra Joines, best-selling author of Shoe in the Road. Sandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, you ready for the first question?
Sure, go ahead.
Here we go. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Without one thing, we can't get anywhere in our author journey. And my best advice to first-time author is to write. When you have those moments, sometimes weeks, when you think you have no creative juices whatsoever, write more. And when you think your knowledge of structuring a novel sucks, write. If someone tells you, heaven forbid, to throw your work in progress away and start over, keep writing.
Sounds like that book, Just Do It.
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
Don't be afraid to take the plunge, right? And I think that's one of the main things is we have to get over that fear.
Absolutely. And even if we're not writing on our manuscript, it's just writing, even if it's typing from someone else's book or writing our outlines or doing anything, it builds that habit and it makes us more receptive to our creativity.
Well, and I think the main thing too is progress is progress.
You're right there.
So you ready for question number 2?
Sure.
What do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Okay, if we're talking about the entire process from planning, writing, revising, to publishing and marketing, knowing when to let go of my work in progress and hand it over to an editor. I'm an overachiever. Nothing's ever good enough, so I keep on and on revising and revising. And it takes an awful lot of revisions when writing fictions. I know this, but I tend to go overboard. So this is the number one thing I'm working on this year, letting go.
Well, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge of many authors is the fact that at the end of the day, a lot of us are perfectionists. I will freely admit I was the same way. And it's the main thing is just to let go, finish your draft, and then let go, give it to the editor, and then sort out the revisions and the proofing in the future. But just get that draft done and get it to your editor.
Mm-hmm.
All right, question number 3. Please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
I would say staying on top of my schedule. I know using the publishing plan developed by a guy named Paul Brodie helped considerably with the launch of my last book. We don't know who that guy is, though.
Oh, no.
To keep myself focused, though, I kept a detailed timeline by action, item, date, and time of day. I actually set the alarm on my phone to make sure I kept up with my schedule. But the detailed process prevented me from experiencing those dreaded things from happening that a lot of authors experience.
Well, and in full disclosure, Sandra is a client in our book publishing implementation program. And one thing that she's alluding to is we have systems for everything. And for the launch of the book, we actually have all the different dates to book which promos and when to book them because we want to build it just like a song. We want to build it to a crescendo. And how do you feel that system helped with the marketing strategy for your book, Sandra?
Well, it took the thought process out of it. It took so much research out of it. I published before years ago as an indie author. And believe me, it took digging and researching to come up with ways that might work. But through your system, if an author follows it works. And I'm convinced of that. And for once in my life, I didn't try to change someone else's plan. Which I'm good at doing. I'm always trying to make it better, but this time I realized I don't know how to make it better, so I trusted the experts.
Well, and the nice thing is, this system, it works for nonfiction and for fiction. And the best part is we actually got to see that with your launch with Shoe in the Road, and just knowing that, hey, a few minor tweaks here and there, and this can be used for every different genre that is out there.
And that is true, and it does work. It does need a little tweaking, and but it works. You're right.
So let's talk about books. What is your favorite book, and what is the number one thing that you learned from it?
It's not one of the great literary treasures to which I probably should refer. Instead, it's a series called Earth's Children by Jean M. Auel. I think she has 6 books total, and most people would recognize her by Cave of the Clan Bear. She published it in 1980. That was her first book. And then her last book in the series wasn't published until 2011 when she's 75 years old. So what she taught me is if an author can write an epic tale of survival about a girl who lived over 30,000 years ago, make me believe she had actually crawled into the head of that character and knew her every thought, and then could put those emotions on paper, surely I could capture the story and emotions of a character in the modern world.
That is excellent. Yeah, I actually remember seeing the movie about 30 some odd years ago. Daryl Hannah, if I remember correctly. So it's definitely quite
right,
the story.
And the movie certainly didn't do the book justice.
Well, and I remember you and I talked about that previously too, because that's the funny thing. The books, I think, have the biggest impact. The movies are great, but it's very rare where you see a truly great adaptation of a book turned into a movie without the creative license, so to speak, if you know what I mean.
I understand.
So let me ask you our final question, and that is this. What is your favorite quote and why?
I've been asked that question so many times, Paul, and my reaction is usually that glazed over deer in the headlights look. And I ask myself, should I have a favorite quote? And then I say, I should have a favorite quote. And I don't. I have many. What I've been doing for years is when I see a quote I like, I write it on an index card, and each day I pull a card off the stack and stick it on my computer, and that becomes my newest favorite quote. Today, the card reads, "She believed she could, so she did." I love it because it reminds me that my hard work paid off, I did it, and I can do it again, as many times again as I want to.
I like that. Yeah, I like that idea too. For those that have too many quotes, go with the newest. I like that a lot. That's a great concept.
I'm glad you like it. It's worked for me over the years.
Excellent. Well, Sandra, thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
The best way is www.sandrajoines.com, and that's SandraJoines.
Excellent. Well, Sandra, thank you once again, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
My pleasure, Paul, and thank you very much.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.